The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
He has some pleasant flash... It's alright. It's fine. It's alright, it's just fine. Don't worry about this brain of mine. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to my first Kamen Rider Dragon Knight episode review. First thing, to explain the change in show to those of you for whom Dino Fury may be your first season watching Power Rangers, Nickelodeon's decision to only allow 20 to 22 episodes of a show a year made the producers of Power Rangers decide to basically not air any new episodes of the show during the summer, what Power Rangers fans have come to call the hiatus. There will not be any new episodes of Dino Fury until about August or September. Kamen Rider Dragon Knight is a show that I've gotten a lot of requests to do reviews on, and I was far from against the idea. Yeah, I'm going to tell you folks going in, I have very fond memories of this show. And it's not cheesy nostalgic fondness like it was with Tattoo Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills. This was the slightly darker take on Power Rangers that I had always wanted, a more mature version. And if it had landed on a network that actually cared about it, I feel like Adness Entertainment would still be adapting Kamen Rider today. So while I am very eager to get into reviewing this show, every time you mention something might be someone's first time hearing about it. Maybe you've never heard of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, so I thought I would start off with a little historical recap. If you don't care about any of this, I can tell you that I will be doing my Just the Facts series that I started with my last pre-hiatus review of Dino Fury for Kamen Rider Dragon Knight as well, so you can look forward to that. In 2006, producer Aki Komine, and forgive me for any possible mispronunciations, requested permission from Toei to create a pilot for a brand new American Kamen Rider adaptation. Now remember that previously in 1995, Saban had adapted Kamen Rider Black RX into Masked Rider. Toei did not take the perceived lower quality of that adaptation very well. It indeed took them 11 years to allow another American company to take a shot at it. And yes, as I kind of spoiled already, it was someone else. In 2007-2008, Power Rangers was nearing the end of the Disney era, and from what I can recall at the time, Disney showed absolutely no interest in commissioning a Kamen Rider adaptation. Komine would produce his pilot, along with the help of producer and big Kamen Rider fan Steve Wang and his brother Michael, and Toei was so pleased with the pilot that they granted the adaptation rights to Kamen Rider Ryuki. Ryuki may seem like a bit of an odd choice, seeing as that show aired in 2002-2003, but the show was chosen specifically for its merchandising possibilities, a huge number of riders providing lots and lots of merchandise, like the Transformation Belt, a toy that I actually own, and should probably get around to displaying, come to think of it. Quick review, it has a really neat deck spinning mechanic, but the gimmick gets stuck really easily. Still, solid 4 out of 5 from me. So here's something that I didn't know until researching the history of Dragon Knight for these reviews. Adness Entertainment's initial plans for the show involved a feature film. A script was even written for it. I really find myself wondering if they were planning to adapt Ryuki's movie, Episode Final, or if they would have done something original. Of course, I could probably easily find out, since I'm sure by now the script is floating around in several places online. However, I'm also sure that if it is, some of you lovely heroes will let me know about it down in the comments. So, why no movie? When Wang turned in the script for the film, he was informed by Adness that they had shifted their attention to raising money to get the rights to another Kamen Rider series for adaptation. Unfortunately, that never happened either, likely due to the way the show ended, which brings me right back to the network that it aired on. Kamen Rider Dragon Knight aired on the CW network on its Saturday morning 4 Kids block. However, it received the Power Rangers RPM treatment. Oddly enough, the exact same year, 2009, that RPM itself was receiving that treatment. The show never had a consistent time slot, sometimes airing as early as 6 in the morning. And this is kind of a thing in general, especially with children's television, that persists to this day and I just find incredibly frustrating. Its time slot was never advertised, even when it was changed.
Excuse me, the f did you just say?
Seriously, I know that most of you know what I'm talking about. Tune in to Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, Saturdays on CW4 Kids. When on Saturday? Saturday is 24 hours long. Okay, the Kids block doesn't air for 24 hours, but the Kids block did air for 5 hours. We're talking about a half-hour show, as I'm pretty sure all of them were, so there's 10 different time slots the show could air in, and you're just telling the kids to guess which one Dragon Knight is in. I understand that this was an attempted enticement to get them to watch the whole block, but that's not something we do with adults TV, so why do it with kids TV? Understandably, that meant the show constantly struggled with ratings. It nearly completed its 40-episode run, but in a decision that I find as infuriating as I do confusing, CW canceled the show off the air with 2 episodes remaining. Just 2! Granted, they did air those 2 episodes on their website, and this was 2009, so that was a slightly bigger deal than it is today, but still, I just will never understand that decision. It only had 2 episodes left. Why not just let it finish its run?
Get on with it!
Don't worry, we're almost there, I promise. Kamen Rider Dragon Knight actually accomplished something that Power Rangers never has in 25 plus years. It won an Emmy. Seriously, it won the first Emmy in a brand new category, Outstanding Stunt Coordination. Now that tells you the quality of the action that we're here to see, which actually brings me to the very last thing I'm going to talk about, how I'm seeing the show. Unfortunately, the way the series ended with CW seemed to discourage Adnes from pursuing any further Kamen Rider, and or poison Toei to the idea of letting an American company take another shot, seeing as there were now 2 adaptations that were considered failures. Adnes never made another Kamen Rider show, which is really a shame, and they never made that proposed Kamen Rider Dragon Knight movie. To this date, 13 years after the show aired, there is no American DVD release. No American DVD release. The show has seen DVD release in other countries. In Brazil, Play Art Home Video released all 40 episodes of the show in 13 DVD volumes, but strangely enough, only the first 2 are currently listed for sale. In Germany, they have Season 1 Volume 1 and Season 1 Volume 2. However, the show was also canceled in Germany, so the sets are incomplete. But you know one place that the show was really successful? The very place from where the adaptation spawned. Japan. Toei broadcast the show in 2009 as part of the Heisei Rider 10th anniversary celebration on their Toei Channel satellite service. The show was rebroadcast over the air in affiliate status by TV Asahi, and even got a brand new Japanese theme song, Dive Into the Mirror by Death Spiral, as well as an original ending theme, since the American ending theme is just the instrumental of the original American theme song, Another World by Kit X Len. The series was a huge hit in Japan, and even prompted, of all things, a sequel novel, Two World, One Hearts, which even includes quotes from Japanese fans about just how good the show was. In Japan, the show has been released on DVD twice, both in 2 20-episode box sets, as well as 10 4-episode volumes. So clearly that's what I'm watching, right? No, I am not. I will admit that I am watching the show through somewhat less than legal methods. However, I feel morally better about that than I usually do, seeing as I found out about this method from the show's starring actor. Stephen Ford, credited as Stephen Lunsford at the time, played Kit, aka the titular Kamen Rider Dragon Knight.
You know, I've realised I can't say the word titular without picturing some kind of breast-themed enemy of Godzilla.
And is now a rather successful independent filmmaker, as well as a good friend seen in the greater circle of current and former Power Rangers actors. He's very active on social media about his current projects, but is also happy to talk about his past acting and Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. One day, he saw a post by a fan group that announced that they were releasing an encoded version of the entire show for download, and seeing as there is no American DVD release that he would be getting any rights from, he gladly retweeted their post and gave downloading the show his full blessing. I cannot tell you where to find the links to download this show. I can't put it in the video comments or in the video info. It could still technically be considered to be pirating the show, even though, again, there is no official American DVD release or even streaming service presence that this would be taking business from. All I feel comfortable telling you is that you should really check out Stephen Ford's Twitter. I'm pretty sure you'll find all the answers you're looking for there. 1,296 words. 2.5 pages. Heroes, let's take a look at the first episode of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, Search for the Dragon.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right you. What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
Okay, so funny story really quick. It turns out that the download encodes are from the Japanese DVD release. They use the original English vocal track, but there are Japanese subtitles on some things. Interesting. Anyway, after a quick establishing shot showing us a missing persons poster for a Frank Taylor, we start with a woman walking in a parking garage to her car, along with an unobservant security guard reading a comic book. We see strange creatures stalking her in the reflective surfaces around her, car windows, panes of glass, etc. Eventually, one of the creatures half reaches out of one of the car windows and grabs the woman. Strangely enough, the security guard looks over at her shriek, sees her stumbling backwards but seemingly alone, and just raises an eyebrow and goes right back to his comic book. Okay, minor spoilers, normal people cannot see the things that come out of the reflective surfaces. But still, the woman could be having a schizophrenic episode, an allergic reaction, some kind of seizure, any number of legitimate things.
Your incompetence is staggering.
She is saved, however, by an armored figure riding a motorcycle, purple and black, themed to a bat, that also comes out of the reflective surface. More of the creatures emerge, and they're kind of red and black and yellow with giant shurikens strapped to their backs. To skip ahead to this detail, if it's ever specifically given, these are the grunts of the season, and they are called gel newts. Although, sometimes, and this is completely official and a proper noun, the show refers to them as minions. Anyway, the armored dude fights them off while staying on the motorcycle, even doing wheelies and endos to smack them around with the wheels.
Yes! That's awesome!
They do finally get off the motorcycle, fighting the creatures with a short pole-type sword for a bit, until putting it back and drawing a card from their belt, the card labeled Sword Vent. They place it into the wing section of the sword and close it, and a large bat creature comes out of the reflective surface, slicing the gel newts and delivering another sword, this one a larger lance-like weapon. They make quick work of the gel newts. The guard steps out of his shack. Oh, I forgot to mention that earlier, seeing this figure fighting basically nothing on a motorcycle, he called 911, and the armored figure de-transforms, a big, powerful spear forming around them, and then splitting into two horizontal circles that move across. It's a Terminator cosplayer. No, seriously, short dark hair, sunglasses, and a leather jacket. He goes to check on the woman, telling her that she just fainted. The guard waves as he changes his motorcycle into a normal-looking motorcycle and rides away. And I'm sure some of you saw me mention this on Twitter, but the security guard's name is Sean. S-E-A-N. Just like mine. I finally see my name spelled the way I do in a tokusatsu adaptation, and it's an inept security guard.
Why?
He rides through the streets of City Town until he hears the telltale sounds of something moving through the reflections. Basically kind of a shimmering sound. He calls out, "Kamen Rider!" and transforms again on the motorcycle this time. That leads us into the show's theme sequence, which I'm going to take this one opportunity to comment on. I like the theme song, but it's similar to RPM's in both good ways and bad ways, perhaps reflecting the musical stylings of 2009. The entire lyrics to the theme song are, "Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, together we will fight the fight, so let's ride," over and over again. It's a nice rock tune, like RPM's, just a little lyrically deficient, like RPM's. But you want to talk about spoiling things in an opening sequence? Every rider we are going to see on this show is featured in the opening credits. Oh wow, Sean, 2 or 3 additional characters that we'll see in like 4 or 5 or 6 episodes, right? How about all 13 riders?
Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
Now that we've had a little tease of the show's action, let's dive in on that plot, shall we? We head over to a police station where a young man named Kit is sitting with his father. Except that his father is the man that we saw in the missing poster, so clearly we're not dealing with exact reality here. He explains that life has been hard since his father left, constantly getting accused of things that he didn't do, starting fights, stealing things, etc. This early on, it's really hard to tell if he's just deflecting or if he really has just had a run of terrible luck.
¿Por qué no los dos?
He's woken up from this by a cop at the station. Kit here was accused of stealing spark plugs from an auto shop, but they've decided not to press charges. However, today is Kit's 18th birthday, so one more stunt like this, and he'll lose any of the protections that come with being a minor. He looks at his dad's missing poster in a glass case, and minor nitpick here, but you know it's me, there's 3 missing posters in the case, and none of them share the same graphical style. Kit then sees his dad standing in the glass's reflective surface. He's not actually there, but he hears his father talking to him, telling him to go back home, to remember the contract card, and to search for the dragon.
Roll credits.
As Kit leaves, we see a red mechanical dragon following him in the reflection of other glass cases. We then cut to the suburban home from Masked Rider, and this is where things get a little messed up. Kit goes to his room and finds a woman moving in a young boy. A new roommate for him? No! His replacement. Kit turns 18 today, and it's out the friggin' door, apparently. He's gonna go back home and start a brand new life for himself.
I have several questions.
So, sadly, at least from what I understand, and you can feel free to correct me about this in the comments below, this is actually a pretty accurate reflection of the American foster care system. 18 years old? Out the door, get on with your own life, you're a legal adult now. What I'm saying is, Kit comes home on his birthday, and his mother has packed a backpack from him, and basically says, hey, you're an adult now, have a nice life. Kinda literally, she says he's going to make his own life now, so he needs to make it a good one. And she's already moved in his replacement. It just seems a little screwed up to me. So far, this episode has told us that Kit is a possible liar and a possible thief, so it realized it needed to do a little bit of character repair work. Another young man in the foster home cut his dad's picture out of the missing poster, slapping it kind of haphazardly into a frame that he stole from a girl in the house to give to Kit as a birthday present. He tells the kid not to steal and continues to insist that the cops who say that he's stealing are just misunderstanding things. He then leaves on a motorcycle because, hey, he's a rider too. As he rides through the city, we see that red mechanical dragon following him basically on every reflective surface that he passes. He pulls up to what for all the world looks like some kind of sporting arena, but turns out to be where his apartment is. And in classic fictional fashion, they haven't put his things into storage and re-rented the apartment. They just covered a bunch of stuff in white sheets and left it frozen in time. Now, to be fair, there is an argument that the apartment could still be considered to be a crime scene, but number one, the story implies that his dad's been missing for some time now, so I think that processing would be done by now, and number two, he's being allowed to move back into it. He has some pleasant flashbacks about times with his dad, and then sees a picture of the family with his mom. She wasn't in any of the flashbacks, so I'm assuming that she's dead, and weirdly enough, his dad looks photoshopped into the picture behind them. Indeed, a sad flashback confirms that the mother is dead. He sets the picture back down and then finds a strange deck of cards sitting on the table. The top card in the deck says Seal, and the back of it says Advent Card. He once again hears his father's voice telling him to search for the dragon. He runs out onto the balcony thinking that maybe his father has returned, but there's no one there. But then he sees the windows of the building across the street start to ripple and shimmer, and then the deck starts glowing.
Now I'm radioactive! That can't be good!
And then that red dragon comes flying out of the windows straight at him. Kit raises his arms in defense, and somehow this creates a shield that the dragon bounces off of. Kit gets back up, and then suddenly grabs his head as his mind seems to be filled with knowledge. He sees the gel newts, a purple monster that we also saw in the parking garage, etc., etc. Let's meet some side characters! After a commercial, at the time, obviously not now, not included in the downloads, it just cuts and cuts back, we cut over to Grace's Books, where a woman is sitting on a laptop and complaining about a conspiracy. There's a rash of missing persons lately, but the media is saying there isn't. The missing person numbers are the same that they always are, and the additional unaccounted for people are being chalked up to a cold epidemic, which was a little uncomfortably on the nose to today's times. A young man there, Trent, says it's a conspiracy of silence, but the woman, Maya, says she's going to post her findings to wayabovetopsecret.com and expose the whole thing. I can't really remember if wayabovetopsecret.com was a thing at the time. I checked the domain now, nothing loads. I even looked at the Wayback Machine in the proper time period from about 2007 to, believe it or not, like 2018 or so. There are 18 snapshots of the site, but nothing loads, which suggests to me it was probably just a redirect website to the main Kamen Rider Dragon Knight page.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
The bookstore is run by Maya's aunt, the eponymous Grace. Grace was played by Victoria Jackson, a Saturday Night Live alum that was a noticeably recognizable face for the show. However, looking into her career, Jackson has become a bit notorious lately for some controversial political beliefs, so let's just move on from that, shall we?
Moving right along.
Trent says that she was supposed to post that story last week, but Maya says she knows it's got something to do with the masked vigilante reports. The city has a masked vigilante that looks like a bat. I wonder what that's referencing. And wants to hack into the police database to try to find the connection. Trent offers to do that for her as Grace calls her over to help with something. This moves the camera over to the door so Lacey can come strutting in, wearing a denim overall set over a miniskirt, one of the perks of working at a vintage clothing store. Trent tells Maya that she's been scooped. Another WATS reporter has posted a story about citing the masked vigilante. Maya decides to leave for some reason, telling Trent to make excuses to Grace for her. Maya, I'm pretty sure the story's already over. I'm not sure exactly what you're gonna do any story on. But anyway, we cut over to Kit leaving his apartment, nowhere near at all where he entered it, and we see this building with a huge section of missing windows. And this doesn't connect to the story whatsoever. If you lived in that city, don't worry, we're getting to that, at the time, I'm sure you would recognize exactly where the building was, but it just doesn't connect to anything. Kit then sees a man get abducted, grabbed by a large spider creature, and pulled into the windows and taken away. Nobody reacts to this, but Kit then sees Maya walking down the street, dictating what I guess is going to be her post on the story into a tape recorder. Then a group of gel newts jump out of a window and start following her. As she turns into an alley, another one crawls out of a broken TV set, and we're starting to stretch the definition of a reflective surface here. He runs in after them, telling the grunts to get away from her and that she needs to get out of there. And since Maya can't see the gel newts, it seems like Kit is a crazy person. He grabs her wrist and drags her down the alley with the gel newts giving chase. Eventually they get cornered and he starts fighting back, showing some nice fighting chops that he probably developed during a rough life with his father missing. Maya stands back and observes this, likely starting to notice that something seems to be hitting Kit, but then she really gets clued into what's going on when she backs into a gel newt that she can't see and then gets grabbed by. Kit fights well and all, but these are low-key monsters and he's not transformed into anything, so he gets his butt kicked. One of them grabs Maya and drags her into a mirror pane nearby. We see her in a strange kind of middle realm, all silver and blue and shiny reflective squares, with gel newts jumping back and forth. One of them touches her and she screams again. Kit then sees one of the gel newts get thrown back out of the mirror. You start to think for a second that Maya kicked its butt, but no, we then see the T-2000 carry her back out of the mirror.
Come with me if you want to live.
He kicks the remaining grunts' butts rather easily. One little thing I want to point out here though. You know how I love to point out on Power Rangers when they use rubber pallets and boxes in their stunt work? Well, maybe the reason that this show won an Emmy and Power Rangers never has for stunt work is that they either used real pallets or at least far stiffer and more convincing fake ones. These pallets look real. Kit congratulates the man on the victory, but he just says that Kit has something that belongs to him, searching his pockets for the Advent deck. He only finds Kit's wallet, which he tosses aside as Kit runs away. The woman starts taking pictures of this guy with her massive camera that I swear she didn't have with her beforehand, but he just grabs the camera and smashes it on the ground. Kind of a dick move. I guess they don't have freedom of the press wherever he's from. As Kit hides from the mysterious man, Maya finds the wallet in the alley and looks at Kit's driver's license. Okay, so you know how Power Rangers loves to come up with really weird city names and sometimes even state names for its setting? Get this. Kit Taylor is apparently from a city called Los Angeles in a state called California? What creative writers? How did they come up with that? Yeah, that's right, we're in the real world this time, kiddos, LA itself. And all you folks know that I have an eye for details, so here are some details from Kit's driver's license. His address is 3385 Avenue D, Los Angeles, California. As you can guess, that address does not actually exist. There is one of that address in Lancaster, California, about an hour north of Los Angeles, and there's literally nothing there. It's just a dusty stretch of desert road. Kit's birth date caused some confusion for me while I was writing the script. Then I figured it out. Then while I was recording, I got confused again. So Kit's birthday is June 10th, 1989. And Kit just turned 18 years old, meaning the show starts on June 10th, 2007. The show had a special premiere episode that aired in December of 2008, and then the show started airing properly in January of 2009. There's nothing wrong with the show's present day being 2007. In fact, I sometimes kind of like the idea of a show kind of documenting events that just recently completely happened. It just seems a little weird to be so close to the present day, but not actually in the present day. If the show's present day is 2009, then Kit would have been born in 1991, not 1989.
Space is warped and time is bendable.
Kit walks down the street when he hears the shimmer sound of the reflections again. He looks at a window and sees the giant spider standing in it. The spider takes a swipe at him, he staggers backwards, and falls through a car. The T-2000 runs up just in time to see this, and annoyed, goes, "Great." He goes soaring through that middle world I described before, but unlike Maya, he gains a suit of armor from it. We see that armor better when he falls out of the car and lands. It's dragon-themed armor, and it's silver, black, and blue. That last color may confuse you a little if you've seen anything at all related to this show, and seen images showing you that the dragon guy is red, or black, but that's way down the road. I don't believe the show ever gives this form a name, but the toys did. This is Kamen Rider Blank Knight. If you've ever seen Kamen Rider Den-O, this is basically Platform, a low-powered armored form that's not connected to anything as of yet. One little detail about this show that I absolutely adore is, unlike Power Rangers, when the riders are transformed, their voices have a little bit of a reverb or an echo. Like they're talking inside a helmet. Genius! The Batinator can see this in the reflections, turning to another reflective surface and holding out his deck.
We're just done with phrasing, right? That's not a thing anymore?
Deck. I said deck. This is where we get the show's first proper complete transformation sequence. Electricity flows down from the deck, forming a belt around their waist, with a large metal rectangle in the center that's open on one side. They slot the deck into the rectangle, and the belt closes around it. The deck then slots back and starts spinning in place. A large energy sphere then forms around them, with two circles moving in opposite directions around them, forming the armor.
That was totally wicked!
Seriously, I love this sequence just as much today as I did in 2008. Transformed, he walks through the windows of an arena, which is really interesting considering that he transformed in front of a storefront. In that transitional space, he finds a weird sort of capsule bike, getting inside and driving to the place where Kit is still getting chased by the spider. After Kit gets beaten around a little bit more, Batman and his pet bat show up and slice the spider away, the capsule bike's chair standing him up because that's necessary. When Kit asks who this is, he says, "You should have given me the Advent deck when you had the chance," revealing that it's Bat Terminator. He uses Sword Vent again, once again getting the big lance thing and telling Kit to stay back. But now Kit realizes how the cards work. He pulls one out of his own belt, also Sword Vent, and a device on his wrist opens up. He places the card inside, and a small, plain, weak-looking sword falls out of the sky. Kit grabs the sword and goes running at the monster, screaming like Tarzan, but it breaks on the first strike, and the monster flings him away. Showing what a concerned, caring partner this new other figure can be, he just deflects Kit away, knocking him into a building. He pulls out a card that's labeled Black Wing, but when he inserts it, the mechanical voice that's been reading the cards, oh yeah, by the way, there's a mechanical voice that reads the cards when they're used, says Attack Vent. The giant bat comes back out and starts fighting the spider as he pulls out another card, this one a red one that says Final Vent. Using that one, he leaps into the air. The bat turns into a giant cape for him. He starts flying at the monster. The cape twirls all around him, and he becomes a giant cape drill, slamming into the spider and destroying it.
That just happened.
Kit asks just what exactly is going on, but they say there's no time. They have to get out of here now. He then pushes Kit out of the way of a giant fireball. The dragon is attacking them. Kit hears his father's voice once again, now telling him not to be afraid of the dragon. "That's nice, Dad. It just tried to kill me." They go running away from the dragon, shooting fireball after fireball at them. If you don't know what's going on with the dragon, you're going to have to wait to find out, because that's where the episode ends. The downloads feature the Japanese credits for the show, with the instrumental main theme playing over footage from the entire season. which is something kind of neat you can do when you're putting together a DVD after the fact. So now it's time to balance the scales, and considering that one of the themes of this show is a dragon, it's even in the title, that could still work, but nah, we need something new and fresh for this series. Besides, the dragon is just one rider. We need something in the theming that goes across the entire thing. Something like cards. And hey, if we're talking about the world of tarot, cards can tell you the truth about a situation. So heroes, let's deal the cards. Episode 1, Search for the Dragon. Pros, excellent pacing, good quality fights, and a real-life setting. Cons, not much actual plot, number of characters thrown in early, and the footage quality gap. All in all, just as good a start as I remember. Search for the Dragon gets 4 cards out of 5. All in all, a great start. There's a real sense of mystery to everything, that slower pacing really serving the show here. It's kind of funny to think that in a show that features 3 episodes per rider that we're starting out this slowly. The characters have real-life problems, and the show doesn't shy away from things like police misunderstandings or a callous, uncaring foster care system. I am really looking forward to doing more of these reviews, like the second episode of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, Contract with a Dragon. Kit and the mysterious bat hero escape the dragon, but get separated. Kit tries to transform again, but can't do so until he remembers the contract card. That's going to do it for my first Kamen Rider Dragon Knight episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. And really, I am not able to overstate just how excited I am to be starting this project. I've had this in the works for probably a year, if not 2. The idea started right around the same time of doing the Tattoo Teenage Alien Fighters reviews. It really picked up steam when I found out that these downloads would be available and were endorsed by the show's main actor. And I'm just really looking forward to sharing my thoughts on a good show with you. You get on my case for complaining about bad things in a show? Here is my opportunity to talk about something that I think is really, 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 really good. Thank you so much for always as watching, like I said.
Excuse me, the f did you just say?
Now that this video is done, you can let me know what you thought of this review and of the episode itself down in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. And if you'd like any logo-themed merch from my channel, make sure you check out my Teespring to get wonderful t-shirts like this, and etc., etc. Until next time, heroes, may the power of the cards protect you. So, if you're not aware, the policy of doing this again. I hate little pauses like that. So, we're not going to have any new... I almost called it Dragon Fury. Nickelodeon's policy of only airing 20 to 22 episodes of a show that's not SpongeBob SquarePants a season made this... God dang it! Ad-libs are fun. Maybe you've never heard of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. In 2007-2008, start mixing up saying Kamen Rider and Power Rangers, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight aired on the CW network on its 4Kids Saturday Morning Kids time block thing. However, it got the RPM treatment. Oddly enough, the exact same year that RPM was received. The show was barely ever advertised. I don't know what the next line is. On their Choey channel, the American ending theme is really just an instrumental version of the theme song, Another World by Kit Len. Another World by Kid X Len. God. A sequel novel, Two World, One Hearts, which includes and is now a rather successful independent filmmaker. He's very Twitter on active media. Kit looks at the poster of his dad, the missing poster in the glass case, and I'm doing this take again. He's woken up from this by a cop in the station. As he leaves, we indeed see a red mechanical dragon following him in the... And this is where things get a little messed up. Kid goes to his room, As he rides through the city, we see the red mechanical dragon following him in basically every... But he just grabs her camera and smashes it on the ground. Farts! The woman starts taking pictures of this armor, as Kit stops and the belt closes around it. Transformed, he walks through the wind. After Kit gets beaten around a little bit more, Batman and his pet bat revealing that it's the Bat Terminator. He uses sword vent again, once again bidding. God dang it, I can't talk tonight. Kit just probably 1 year, if not 2, around the same time of the. We then meet some side characters. An indie reporter named Maya. Eventually, one of the creatures takes her through the mirror, but she's rescued by Bat Dude. She's eventually taken through a mirror by one of the creatures, but she's rescued by Bat Dude. We have to learn just everything that's going on. We have to have a fight. That doesn't make any... That does kind of get in... But overall, it was a refreshingly literal thing.